The condition is really crazy condition.
And that shouldn't give away the whole secret to professional windsurfing.
Maciek, giving Antoine elbow a run for his body. Here we go. What a finish!
The guy is kind of talking bullshit.
The team's just got to work a little harder.
Welcome to the Windsurfing Podcast, back again for episode 32. And this week we have an English wave sailor who started his career in Dahab teaching windsurfing. He has now gone on to become a top 5 world ranked sailor. We talk about sponsorship and what it's like to be with the smaller brands and what it's like to be with the big brands. We also talk about Maui. We talk about George and his first ever session and how it kind of happened because he's basically stuck there at the moment. We talk about the future. We talk about PWA judging criteria and lots more. Who is it? Well, it is, of course, Mr. Adam Lewis.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Mate, how you doing?
I'm good. Tenerife and Maui connection. Hopefully it holds up.
We'll have to see how it goes.
It
might be a dodgy Maui connection, to be honest. But
yeah. People might not know this, or it's not really a piece of trivia that you really need to know, but we kind of go way back now. Like I thought it was like a few years back, but it was like winter 2012. I think I met you. We were in Australia.
Yeah.
It was young Adam Lewis, young Balz Muller, aka to be Radiculo. I don't think he was Radiculo at that time. And
he
young
was
me,
something, but
and young myself.
Yeah.
And we shared a van. We bought a van in Australia. We had the Patrick photo shoot, and it was a ton of fun. And if you think about it now, it's kind of all three of us made it. Probably Balz the most, but let me just one memory from this trip about you, and then you tell me what you remember. I remember like, because you were the oldest. You were like 22, 23, whatever, 23.
Yeah.
Balz was like 19 and I was like 21, I think. And so you were driving most of the time. And there was a lot of Bonnie Tyler. That's what I remember. A lot of really dodgy. Like
did we have CDs? We had CDs. We had to make CDs.
I'm not sure. Maybe we had a Bluetooth cassette, or something. Yeah, maybe a stick. Yeah. So that's what I remember. Driving in the heat, a lot of driving in the heat it was an old Toyota Hiace with the engine under our asses, like super
hot. Yeah.
And you fucking torturing me with that Bonnie Tyler Total Eclipse of the Heart and all. And the other one. What's the other one?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Holding out for a hero, probably.
That one. Yeah. That one. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was good. That was a pretty good trip, actually. When you think back on it, it was pretty sick.
Yeah. Just driving around, saying three guys like trying to make it, but not.
Yeah. Not really at that time, for sure.
Like calling themselves pro windsurfers, but in reality, basically like scrambling by.
Yeah, I think I ran out of money on that trip, if I remember.
Yeah, it was fun. You remember what struck with you?
I remember a bunch. I remember Balz sleeping on the roof of the roof rack, because we had the bed, which was like a little van, and we were sleeping in the same bed in the back. We had Balz on top. I remember later. I remember getting really sick of driving once back from Nalu, and I think maybe you and I, or maybe it was Balz and I, but we went into one of the service stations and bought a load of gin and tonic, and then made someone drive. I can't remember who, and then drank a load of gin and tonic in the back.
Yeah, I
Just
guess
so
I would,
right.
I might have been the responsible one. So maybe
Yeah,
you too.
I think it might have been Balz. It was Balz's idea, maybe. But I remember we went towing as well with Patrick, which was pretty funny.
I almost died.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember being so scared out back because he was like, "Oh, just get off the sea and bob around." And it was like just out to sea, miles out to sea. I just remember bobbing around in Margaret River, terrified of sharks.
Yeah, this and like he had a system where there was two guys in the water and he would tow one, go for the other one, tow the other one, pick up, X, tow the Y, whatever. And so I fell, and as I'm getting like sets on my head, he's towing somebody else. He's not there to pick me up,
Aaron, maybe.
Double mast. Like 20-year-old that's never seen proper waves,
fresh out,
double mast waves on my head, fully panicking, like almost drowned.
Also, like out to sea, it's like some bommy just completely out to sea. It was gnarly.
Yeah, it was fun. It was like popping my cherry,
I think we had like the day I arrived, and I think it was probably your first time in Margie's as well. Massive. I remember, but both of us trashing everything. I ran out of masts, I think, a week into the trip.
Yeah, mast sails. Yeah.
Doing.
I remember pulling some dodgy masts out of Patrick's shed that he has, like, because we
just ran out.
Yeah, was good. Remember shopping cart racing down the main street in Margie's?
Yeah.
Maybe again that was you and Balz. Maybe I was on some like really trying to be a pro trip. Slalom guy has to be, way more serious than the freestyle.
I think I remember you were doing like more marketing stuff maybe for Patrick at the time too. You'd already started doing. It just was quite funny. It was the dog wants to be involved.
Yeah,
it was funny.
Yeah, I was trying. Yeah, the idea was, I guess, to that I would grow into like part of the brand, which as everybody might know who listens to the podcast, didn't really work out for neither of us actually, but yeah, a lot of moaning. Like we would drive just following. Patrick would drive with his Land Cruiser and his jet ski trailer that he had the jet ski on, and we would drive behind and just moan about our contracts.
The same would probably happen today.
Yeah. Anyway, your journey, this was kind of right in the middle of your journey.
Yeah.
From, I guess, I don't know, just windsurfing and whatever to actually make it in on the tour and being a pro and whatever. Because normally it's like you either, after you finish school, you either go to university, or get a job and kind of windsurf for fun, or you just let go of everything and try to become a pro. Maybe you get some sponsor for a couple thousand like I did or whatever, and you just drop everything and try to become a pro. And you took kind of neither of those. You worked as an instructor in Egypt and Club Vas, I think, then finally Tenerife. What was the process like? Was it always like, okay, I'm gonna get there somehow, or you just winged it like from job to job and see what happens?
I think firstly I started like every British windsurfer started windsurfing on a lake. And I think, I never thought honestly like that I would be a like full-on professional windsurfer. Like until 19 or 18, I still was like sailing on a lake most of the time and not really like doing loads. I just wanted to windsurf all the time. So the only way I could like windsurf the whole time and afford to windsurf the whole time was to was to be an instructor, basically. And that was like the way that I could windsurf and enjoy windsurfing, basically, and still be able to survive, because I needed to get paid somehow. So yeah, and like that, I just kind of winged it, and I was pretty lucky. Like you said, I worked my first job. I finished college in the UK, and then like that, I had an exam in the morning, and that evening I had a flight to Egypt. So I just went straight to Egypt. I had a job teaching, and I was pretty lucky off the back of that job. Firstly, like it was I was on like an English salary in Egypt, so I could save money doing that to go to Cape Town in the winter. So I did the summer in Egypt, the winter in Cape Town. And then I was really lucky that I just fell kind of into that job in Tenerife. It was the OTC at the time, it's the TWS now. And from there it just snowballed, because the whole center was set up like really cool, like literally about sailing. So there'd normally be like 3 of us working, 2 of us could kind of run the center, and if it was good, the other one could windsurf, and we'd like do days that we'd just rotate, and I'd sail like 2-3 hours in the day, and then 3 hours after work, and maybe a session in the morning if it was good. So I was pretty lucky to have like those few years there that I just sailed. Like it was awesome. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that, really.
So there was a master plan, kind of, sounds like, at least.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was a master plan. My master plan was I wanted to windsurf, and I definitely like wanted to improve. And I mean, I wasn't sure about doing events even. It was the kind of like other guys were like, you should try and do contests. The funny thing is that I nearly didn't. Like my first PWA, I'd stopped working in windsurfing centers, and I was in the process of doing a plumbing apprenticeship in the UK. And then I was really lucky that Danny Bruges gave me a wild card to a Tenerife event, and I did well enough at that then I just did a full U-turn and was like, that's it, I'm gonna have a go at it.
What's up with all you British windsurfers that all of you kind of either want to work construction, plumbing, carpentry, like, I don't know, it just seems like there's many other things to do, you can do, ton of shit, and I don't know, somehow it's just that. It's just manual labor.
It's funny. It's like, so when I was younger, the reason I wanted to do it was because I would have a van, like a nice van, and that I'd be able to put my windsurfing stuff in that and go I mean, I know a lot of guys that, let's say they're a plumber, and halfway through the day, if there's good waves or there's good wind, they're just like, oh, I need this pipe from the plumbing merchant, and then they go, but they don't go to the plumbing merchant, they go surfing for an hour and then come back and carry on working. So it was kind of like, I think a lot of the guys at home want that kind of flexibility just to go when it's good. We have big tides at home, so you kind of need that flexibility to plan around stuff. And I think a lot of the boys, like, if there's good waves at home, the car park's full of plumbing and carpenters' vans, like, for sure.
That's classic. Let me read you something. I secured a position in the OTC team in March 2007, whereupon my approachability and talent on the water made me an obvious choice for the visiting 0.7 team. But I'm almost threw up reading this. How smart can you try to sound?
I think I wrote that with Tris Best, who's the managing director of the OTC at the time. We were just trying to drum up some sort of sponsorship. I think it was a board sponsorship.
It's on your PWA profile. You might want to take care of that. Yeah, it's that posh. If anybody watched the live stream, sometimes you get into that. When you commentate, sometimes you get into that posh type mood where you start using fancy words that nobody understands, and it's just fucking annoying, man. So yeah, but back to your story. Enough of me. So you did that event in Tenerife,
Yeah.
And then, so you decided like, okay, let's go for it, I guess.
Yeah.
How many times a day did you question that decision?
A lot. At the start, a lot. Like I remember I came, so Tenerife, I won the expression session and I came 17th. So it was like enough to get a tiny bit of cash. And then like, I have to say Ben Profit and Phil Horrocks took me in the van to Denmark and Silk, and I slept on their floor. Like I slept on Profit's floor of his sailor accommodation. And yeah, it, like definitely then I was like, I just kind of left I'd left the plumbing apprenticeship basically. Yeah, I'm sleeping on a floor. So it was, but it worked. Somehow it worked. I don't know. I thought about it a bit, but
yeah,
I feel like once I was down that path, I was down it, and I mean, you obviously still question it. I mean, even now, not now, but for sure.
But yeah,
previously you were like, well, how long will I keep doing it? Because it's not like we're going to be millionaires from it. But yeah, no, I think once I was kind of going, I think my mum had kittens about the whole thing. She was like pretty worried.
Yeah.
That it was an awful decision, but
I
my
think
dad was pretty cool about it.
I think to guys that maybe want to do it, I think from my mindset, I think it's just like a lot of it is just accepting this is what you're doing now rather than like chasing a big break. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this is what you're doing. Just try to get better and whatever. And I remember you were also like chasing something that would once and for all kind of cement you into the you know, into that world, and you kind of get frustrated because it's not really.
Yeah. I just think it's also somehow it's just not there anymore. You know, you're not all of a sudden going to get this $250,000 contract that means that you can relax. It's not like that anymore. But yeah, I feel like it's when I think about it and I look back, if you said like in the last 10 years, the kind of life that you're able to live is pretty amazing. And that's,
yeah, I remember both of us. I don't remember Balz. I think he's never really unhappy, but I remember both of us in Australia being kind of fed up at some point with the whole situation, and now you look back and you're like, fuck, you know, we had so much fun and whatever. So like you say, I think it's in the end it's just a price for the lifestyle, you know, like.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely.
I just tell myself like footballers, they go to vacation where they go for vacation where we go to work. So it's pretty all right.
I mean, I can't complain. I've got a house in Maui now. You know, like I'm whinging about money, but
yeah,
in paradise. So
yeah. Having said all this, all about this questioning and all about this, you know, kind of, why you think? Because there was a whole kind of group of you guys, like Club Vas boys and Egypt boys and whatever, that kind of whole generation. And out of that, it seems like pretty much you made it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I don't want to sound smart about it or whatever, but I think there was a bunch of talented guys as well, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
like,
I would say like there was some guys, especially growing up, that had, I would say, more talent than me. Like I can think of a guy, I don't know if you've ever met him, but it's Pip Puddo. The guy was like at 16, he was already doing back loops and like all the switch moves, like such a talent.
But I remember Rich Jones, for example. That was more my age, I think, or like between me and you.
Yeah.
That was ripping. I remember your friend Graham Woods.
Yeah.
You know, that was kind of, yeah. I mean, when we were in Australia, he was sailing at least as good as you.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, honestly, like I would say Graham is a big reason for how good I am today as a sailor, because from the day I learned to windsurf probably till now, he's kicked my ass at most stuff windsurfing. Like, he's really good.
Yeah. So why you think, what was the difference? Is just the willingness to sacrifice like a normal life and or is it, you know, these guys maybe at some point they don't necessarily want it, or what do you think the difference is?
I think it's probably a combination of both those things. I feel like I stuck at it like longer than other guys, and maybe I don't know. I feel like I was lucky to get like the 0.7 sponsorship when I was there in Tenerife. I was lucky to get that, and like that was just a little bit of money. It was like a taste of. I just feel like a lot of it. I was lucky to get the job like in Tenerife, honestly, like both Graham and I. And then I feel like I just didn't give up. I feel like the other guys, life kind of just, they got sucked into being at home or to working, and I just kind of kept going. I feel like as a windsurfer from the UK as well, it takes a little bit longer, like it takes us, I don't think there's guys, it's not the same as like, I don't know, Ricardo, who windsurfed every day as a kid. So like it takes everyone longer to kind of get to that level in a way, because you have to leave the UK basically and travel around sailing, because you need, I mean, you know what it's like. You need that day in, day out sailing to get the improvement, and you don't get that at home.
Well, you're talking to a guy from Poland, so I definitely know what you're talking about. I mean, UK, to me, UK sounds like paradise. You can windsurf every day almost. It's just that you don't necessarily get repetition, right? Because it's different every single day. So I guess that's...
Yeah, it's radically different. Yeah.
And even me, that nowadays I windsurf, like I wave sail like probably 15 days a year. I feel like if it's a week that is windy here in Tenerife and I go 4 times, I already feel like you're improving. So,
yeah, exactly.
While probably if you're sailing different stuff every day, it's a lot harder to improve. You mentioned 0.7 and getting your kind of first bit of sponsorship there. And then kind of talking about making it or not making it, Fanatic Duotone, back then Fanatic North. How do you compare like being kind of a number one on a small brand, because back then 0.7 was tiny, to being one of the few whatever on a bigger brand, and maybe not necessarily, maybe I don't know, maybe Victor, I don't know what's the arrangement there, but maybe if you have a sick board, Victor just takes it. I don't know, but you know what I mean? Just that kind of dynamic. How
I think
do you see
it. I think like first off, when I like with 0.7, I had quite free reign. I was flying to Italy to deal with Claudio, the designer you work with now. So I was flying to Italy, and I was working with him on sales like in the loft, and then I kind of had free reign over all of the sales, like pretty much. Cookie was like, just do what you want, almost, like literally. And so for me, like it was a little bit of an adjustment for sure when I joined. It was North and Fanatic at the time. It was never that like Victor would never do it, honestly, but it was never that like if I got a good board, Victor would want it. There's definitely been times that he or someone, I've had a board or they've had a board and we get a copy of it, like that happens for sure. But it took a little while, and I'd say it's taken me, it's a much bigger company, so it's harder to get your foot in to get where you where you'd want to be. But I mean, now I'm kind of doing all the testing and all of the development. So for the sales, especially. So it just took a little bit longer. It's a bit of an adjustment. Yeah, I feel like if there's guys maybe that I feel like I don't have the biggest ego about my sailing, and I feel like there's guys that I don't want to say they have big egos, but maybe like for them it's harder because they're used to getting kind of all of the attention, and all of a sudden you're not going to get that attention. Maybe they find it harder. For me, it didn't really bother me. I just kind of did my thing.
Did you just have like a pep talk with Craig about it, or what? Because that's almost the exact wording he used here on this podcast. Like he said, he's looking for guys that are able to work in a team rather than trying to get all the attention, which is funny because he's had stars on his team. I mean, I wouldn't say like Goito, who's now gone, maybe part of the reason or whatever. I don't know. I have no idea, no insight there. Just pure speculation. But yeah, you know, so it sounds like, are you getting like less TLC? What's TLC? Tender love and care, like on a bigger brand, you know, than on the small brand. You feel like almost you're running the show almost, you know, because the guys, they need to ask you. Like at 0.7, you were the only wave sailor. There was nobody. So if there was any decision to be made, probably getting consulted and whatever. So that's a perk. But then, so what's because it sounds like you almost had a shit time at first in North Fanatic. So what's the perk of the bigger brands?
I would say firstly, like just the coverage machine that those guys are, and the marketing department is significantly better. I would say like just the gear and things like that obviously made a big difference at the time.
So you're a sellout, basically.
Okay. Yeah, more or less. But yeah, I think I mean, that was kind of, I went from 0.7 and I went to I don't know what it would be if I changed again. It just took me a while to learn. It took me a while to learn how to find my place in that company, which maybe you'd get even if you changed to a smaller company again. I don't know. Yeah, probably. It's hard. It's you have to learn. You work with these people, and you have to like learn how to work and how to get along with them.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of also like knowing the people, getting to know them, because there's different cultures, and in Italian culture, when you negotiate a contract with Italians, you say like 50 grand, and it's like an invitation to negotiate. If you say 50 grand with Germans, it's like take it or leave it, you know. So I feel that way almost, you know. I remember the first time I came here, like I said, I'd been doing loads of stuff with the sales before, and I was used to dealing with Cookie, and I was used to dealing with Claudio. Andrea Cookie and Claudio Badiali. I'm getting a ton of shit that we say names and we don't explain who they are. So Andrea Cookie is the boss of 0.7. Claudio Badiali is the designer of Challenger that used to design for 0.7 as well. Keep going.
Yeah. Perfect. So, and I mean, you've dealt with both of those guys, and like to deal with them, like I learned through that time that, you know, if you want to get something done, you have to be basically rude to them and like motivational at the same time, which is quite an art already. And I remember I came here and I tried a few sales, and then I remember writing Kai an email, and I just think about like that email to this day, because I spoke to him in the way that I would have spoken to like Claudio and Cookie, thinking about like doing, and Kai is an Australian German, and that's definitely not how you deal with
living in Maui. I hope anybody that's met him is just different dude, you know, just
he's a genius, but he's like and I just think about that email I wrote, and I think it took me years to recover in his book. because I just remember like I'd write to Claudia and I'd be like, this sail's awful, we need to change this, like only because I wanted it to change. And if you say, oh, it's okay, they're like, it's okay, it's perfect.
Yeah,
but
it's almost with some designers, you can't tell them that it's good because then they won't change it. But with others, you can't tell them that it's bad because they'll take it personally.
Exactly.
So you always got to feel it out, right?
Exactly. And I got the balance totally wrong at the start, for sure.
Yeah, I've been there.
Because I was used to saying things were like it would actually be kind of fine, but I'd have to make it sound bad so it would get changed, kind of thing.
Yeah, I've definitely been there with Patrick. We almost like to almost a fist fight point because I just had no idea how to communicate at that level, like get your point across, like you say, you know.
Yeah.
So that's part of the job for sure. That takes a while, and I think if you're like super talented or win at a young age or whatever, you don't necessarily need it because they just kind of
deal with it.
Yeah, they just they have to deal with it, right? You're like the prodigy and whatever, and maybe they try to educate you or whatever, but you're not necessarily. While when you try to actually raise your value from scratch, it's a lot different.
Yeah, you have to learn. Like, I mean, for me, it was probably like any professional career in a way that you have to learn how to communicate with different people. And when you change to a different company, same as if you change a job, you have to learn how to communicate, and that's like pretty key if you want to succeed. Yeah.
So basically, now we're ready for an office job, I guess. In Apple, hit me up, Google, Amazon, whatever.
Yeah, we're ready.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
I can do podcasts for you, Amazon, for you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Or for Tesla or whatever. Yeah. Speaking of starting things from the ground, I think anybody that hasn't seen it should go on your Instagram and see how you basically build a house in Maui from scratch by yourself in what, a month? Maybe
no, it took 2.5 months.
Took 2.5 months, but like just one pair of hands, right? Or somebody.
Well, I had help. So like obviously this summer we had kind of a bit of downtime, and I actually did a bit of carpentry work, and then before starting this house, and then the carpenter that I worked with, he came and helped a bit on the house too. So
again, you got dragged into manual labor.
Setting.
Yeah, but let's maybe so basically you go to Maui for the photo shoot and you get stuck there.
Yeah.
Meeting your current girlfriend probably didn't help you leaving, let's say. Yeah. But so like you lived in the UK, let's say you lived partially wherever you were teaching or whatever, then you were living in Tenerife kind of full time, and Maui, like, sounds like it's quite easy for you to adapt, like you just decided, okay, I'm gonna build a house in Maui, and I don't know, like it looked quite straightforward. You got this little I don't know, what's the base on wheels that you got? Is it like
so we ordered a trailer from the mainland, and it's a 32-foot long trailer, and that's basically kind of for planning laws here. You can, if it's on a trailer, it's effectively registered like a caravan rather than as a house. So I didn't have to go through the same planning loopholes.
So 2 trailer park girls go around the outside. Is that the one? Yeah. So like living in Maui, it's amazing, and then you're there also like working with R&D and sailing, obviously Hokipa a lot. I don't know if you're sailing that horrific onshore place that the guys sometimes sail to prepare themselves. Like, are you there for good? Like you you settled?
I feel like, I mean, it all depends, but I have to say, like, it's, yeah. I feel like, I mean, it's also, you touch on it actually quite a few times. Like, you feel like when you're here, you're like at, I don't know, that nothing else like really matters past Maui or past Hawaii somehow. But I think maybe I'd still move around a little bit, but I'm definitely based here for the foreseeable future. I mean, in terms of R&D and stuff, right now, sort of for the last probably 12 months now, I've been doing more and more testing and more R&D stuff, and so I'm going to stay doing that for the time being, for sure.
Yeah, it does. You do get into that mindset. Like whenever I'm in Poland, I care about, having a nice car and having, clothes and having, I don't know, like so much more, because I guess you're doing so much less cool activities that you care about the material side of things a lot more. And then in Maui, it's like you don't care. You just want to go surf, windsurf, whatever, it's all good. But living in Maui has some perks as well. I mean, has a lot of perks, but one of them is, all these bigger swells and whatever. And you just popped your Jaws cherry, lost your Jaws virginity. So talk us through that experience, and how does it feel to do it later than I did?
Wow, that feels painful, but yeah, no, it was cool. I have to say, I surfed it last year, and I've been like kind of desperate to windsurf it for the last, I mean, literally since I started coming here. But just like for whatever reason, things never lined up, and it took a little bit of, I mean, it takes a bit of organizing. It's actually a mission. But we had kind of the perfect couple of days come up. So we had like a clearly windy, clearly Jaws forecast on the Thursday, I think it was. And then so sailed it then, like, and I mean, it was big already, I have to say. I loved it. It's the perfect big wave. Like, it breaks. Personally, I feel it's not as intimidating as, let's say, Keeper, when it's like well over mast and closing out. It's kind of like there's rip everywhere. It's gnarly. And Jaws just handles that swell like it's made for it, and it behaves like a perfect little slab, just huge. So it's beautiful. I loved it. And then so that was the Thursday. That was my first day. It was kind of windy, 5-0, but planing out back, so you could kind of catch waves well. And then like Saturday came around, and Saturday was mental. That was kind of this big swell. They were saying it was probably like one of the biggest swells in the last sort of 10 plus years. And the whole, so from where the house is here, like you could hear it. It woke me in the night, just like that noise that you don't expect. Like, I'm 3 miles away, and you just hear, like, you hear the set just boom, boom. It was nuts. Yeah. So yeah,
I think what goes kind of untold is that power. I mean, actually, what surprised you? Because you live in Europe for most of your life. You watch these videos every swell. You watch videos. You watch Insta stories. You feel like you almost know the place. You know where everything is. But I was still surprised with a couple of things. What surprised you?
I would say, like, on Saturday, what really surprised me was, like, firstly, like I think you were about to touch on, is like just the power. Like, it's a slab. it's a huge slab, basically. It's not like it's a top to bottom barrel. And then what surprised me about that was that, like, on Saturday, at the bottom of the wave, the barrel is so massive, it's pulling air from like outside the wave into the barrel. And I was like, full power on a 5.0, you can hardly hold the sail at the top of the wave. You get to the bottom and you're in this vacuum. Like, there's air's being pulled. It's not like side off anymore. Air's getting pulled like from the face straight into the barrel. And I was not expecting to like get to the bottom of the wave and not have very much wind in my sail. And I mean, it pulls you. Like, if you're in the wrong place, it pulls you in. Like, it literally just pulls you in. It's a vacuum and it's just pulling. And
it's funny because you kind of have to be aware of a lot of things there. Like you say, you know, you can't really get to the bottom because there's no, like, first of all, it's hard to get to the bottom because it's so fast.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of guys get caught out, and probably most famously now, Adam, like, you get to the bottom of the wave, and you have to almost surf the wave, you know? You have to, like, you never see the tow guys get to the bottom of the wave. You kind of have to always stay on the face like you'd be surfing, you know? Which is weird because, like you say, when you're on top of the wave, you can barely freaking hold on to your 4.7, 5.0, whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So, but did the positioning catch you out? Because it's a big playing field, isn't it?
Yeah. I feel like I was kind of lucky on the last couple of swells that the sets were like clearly, they were kind of clear. And so that you have that the west bowl, and then you have the north, kind of like the north peak, I suppose. And they were kind of like defined. I think there's days where maybe it's a bit smaller or the swell's a bit more mixed. And I think then it's really tricky. Like, Ricardo got done a little while ago where he was kicked out of a north swell, and like very clearly behind the north swell was a west bowl, and it comes like the north's coming like this, but the west comes like this. He kicked out, and you're just looking into like a barrel. And I think the days I've gone so far have kind of been a little bit clear, like they've been easier to read.
Yeah, that sounds really nice, because I got that experience, like that like you could have in a set, you could have a more north wave, and then a west wave that, like you say, you kick out, you think you're in the channel, and all of a sudden
you're nowhere near
the thing. And I remember pumping like as hard as I possibly could. Seeing that thing.
It's gnarly. Like, I turned up the day, like on Saturday, I was halfway through rigging, and I saw Adam on that, like little Adam on that bomb. And I mean, you don't want to fall. It's gnarly. It's so gnarly.
Talk to us a little bit about protection and security, because I think people that don't live there or never experienced it don't really understand how much weight there is behind it, and how much the locals, it's almost a sign of respect that you take it serious. And like, if you rock up there like happy go lucky, I'm just gonna ride Jaws, you're gonna get like straightened out, like, hey dude, you know, like, so talk to us a little bit about that. What precautions did you take? And
like, I think, like you're saying, those water safety guys that are there for, like, say the tow guy's safety, I mean, they take it really seriously. And the problem is, if you just rock up and you crash in a dumb place, and you don't have your own safety, they're gonna have to rescue you, and they're risking their life for you to rock up to be a dick, more or less. So, but yeah, in terms of safety, in terms of like the stuff I have, I've got like a quite thick padded, it's just like, it's a short-legged vest thing, and it's got real thick pads. It's awesome. It takes a lot of the like impact out of the crashes. Like, I use it for paddling. Just if I go to some of the outer reefs here and I'm surfing, it's really good. It takes a lot of the sting out.
The Patagonia one. Oh,
yeah.
You're sponsored by Ion, aren't you? Sorry. Yeah. So,
and
we'll
then I have
beat that out.
and then for like this swell on Saturday, I had a pull vest too. You want that pull vest. Basically, the problem is quite often the way that the waves work is there's so much water moving. The wave breaks, it takes you like forward and pushes you down. But the problem is it pushes you deep, and deep the water's coming. It has to leave the bay. It has to leave the break. So the water really deep is actually going back out to sea. And so the problem is that you actually get like punished, pushed forward, you get down, and then you go back out to sea and you pop up, and you kind of pop up where you're going to take like the next one on the head. So those pull vests keep you like floating, and you get washed much further in. I mean, the disadvantage of that is you see nowadays a lot of the guys get way more closer to the rocks, like to the shore break at Jaws. But
yeah, the 2-wave, like the 2 or 3 wave hold down is like the scariest thing you can ever imagine, you know. Already like when we were towing in Australia, I remember I think we had flotation, but you know, I popped up, just got a breath, and got the next one on the head. And it's just like, you think like if I was under for another 2 seconds, that would be a 2-wave hold down, and I would probably not make it, you know?
Yeah.
Which is which is insane.
So I had that pull vest, and that was kind of me. But I mean, those, like with those two, you do generally feel pretty safe. And then I obviously had the last swell on Saturday I shared with Morgan, we had a safety guy. So we had a guy on the ski just keeping an eye on us.
Yeah. What's your mindset going in? Is it like, I'm going to score the ride of my life, or I just want a picture, or I'm going to just see how it goes, or, you know,
I think firstly, like most of all, I wanted to be, like, for example, on that Thursday swell, I just wanted to sail that place. Like, I just wanted to go out and get a wave. And then for I had like some pretty good waves on the Thursday, but it's a horrible addiction, because straight away I came in and I was like, I'd seen a bigger set and I'd missed it on Thursday, and I was like, man, I want I would really like a bigger one. And then I have to say, like Saturday, I had one wave and I remember dropping down, and I just looked up, and it was like what your eyes are seeing didn't make sense. It was ridiculous. So that was kind of like that was the experience I was after. But it's one of those that, like, already now I'm like, well, like next swell would be quite nice to try and, you know, like if it's a smaller swell, like Brow and the guys are turning it into a performance wave. So then you're already thinking like, well, on a smaller swell, it might be quite nice to try and like get a little turn in the pocket or get a little air or something. So
that's the thing.
Start of
that's the thing. You go there, you know, you get your picture, and you're like the hero for 2 seconds. But then you look at the footage and you're like, shit, I could have done this. I could have, you know, and then you realize like your board's probably not the best, because unless, you
need a Jaws.
Yeah. So you need a Jaws board, you need a separate board. And it's like so many things that you could do better that I think it's only natural. I mean, for me, it was fully like this. I was totally taking it safe and whatever, and I'm nowhere near your guys' level. I'm never going to claim it or whatever, but still it would be nice to actually set your rail, do a proper bottom turn, and an ice hack off the top. I'm not going to say aerial or whatever, but
but like just that, like a big long lay down classic big bottom turn just into a big rail off the top, like it's a lot of power, would be cool.
Yeah. Speaking of speed, power, and flow, hopefully the tour What a segue. Unbelievable podcast skills.
Seamless.
Yeah. Hopefully the tour comes back in 21 or this year actually. Now. Yeah. Yeah. What's your expectation? Because you've been bubbling around in Maui riding jaws and whatever, while maybe some other guys were training port tack, and it's port tack events, and but at the same time you had your best years right before we had COVID, and you're probably like in your prime, and you figured a couple things out, which was quite obvious if somebody watched you compete. You figure out a way to sail heats. So what's your expectation for 2021? Not necessarily only for you, but just for the tour in general, and how the vibe's going to be.
I think everyone's dying to get back to to say, most of all, sounds like a bit lame, but I bet for myself personally, I feel like you miss just seeing everyone, that they're kind of guys that you've done, guys and girls that you've traveled around the world kind of thing.
That you thought you hated and now you actually miss.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think everyone's kind of keen to get back. I mean, we'll just have to see. I really don't know. I don't know for the summer quite what's going to happen. I hope we have events. I think by autumn surely by autumn there's going to be events. But yeah, like you say, it's a bit different for me because this is probably, I've just been here doing this, but come summer or come spring, if it looks like we're going to sail, that's like you were saying, the beauty about being here is there's a bunch of port tack spots that you can just drive to. I've got a 4x4, so I've made sure I can get to those spots to practice. So just have to see. I feel like as well, Pozo maybe is a bit different, but Tenerife, I spent so much time there. I feel like I always feel at home when I get to Cabeza. So it's not like I'm totally stressed about that one.
Yeah. As I mentioned, you had your best years. I think 2018 you made a podium in Cabeza. Yeah. What does it take to do this? Because I was thinking about it today, and I'm like, it's actually quite a simple thing. It's like you got to win 4 heats.
Yeah.
In the single elimination.
That's a big thing. That's a big thing, is understanding how important a single elimination is.
And it sounds so simple, but it's like usually the simpler things get in sports, the harder they are somehow.
Yeah.
But what does it take? Because it sounds like you guys, the level is pretty close.
Yeah.
But somehow the same guys end up on top, watching you sail or whatever, if you take your top 2 waves and your top 2 jumps, if you're counting 2 and 2 or whatever, 3, it's like, it's not, you can't really draw a big distinction,
Yeah.
Like maybe if we take the best jump of the contest, then Philip's going to be up there. If we take whatever the best flowing wave of the contest, Victor is going to be up there. But I don't know, why do you reckon these guys, Philip, Victor, Brau, throw Ricardo in there, and Tomas Traversa in onshore, definitely. Why do you think they have kind of the upper hand for most of the time, and what do you have to do to actually get in there as you did in Tenerife?
I feel like, firstly, like you said, it's kind of understanding. I think the year before I got to the semi-finals in the single, and then I lost. I lost again to Philip for that, in that semi-final to go to the winners final. And it was super close. And I thought I was against Philip, and I thought I did like a good 360, and then I went for another 360 on the wave, and I just needed to like hit it because there was like point something difference between us. And I remember thinking then, like, I think when you come against those guys, it's really easy to fall into the trap of trying too hard. And really, like, a lot of the times you just have to not really worry about them, and you have to sail and just sail as best you can, you know, like how you would. And I just remember thinking, like, if I'd have just won that heat, and if I'd have just like come out of that 360 and just like tapped the whitewash, I would have gone through. So I feel like you just have to sail how you can, and that sounds really easy, but it's not, because you're like, I'm in a contest, I need to sail the best I've ever sailed, or like you feel like you're trying to pull something out of the hat, and quite often you don't need, you know, like you see the guys and quite often they win, but they don't like annihilate someone, you know, they just keep winning. You just have to sail how you can, and I think that was like for me a big point.
Yeah, like learn to win, actually, rather than, I think there's a huge difference between sailing and heat sailing. It's really cliche, and it's been in the sport in sports that are judged. I think it's always been this kind of thing where, you know, you see Antoine Martin doing a triple push loop attempt, and, you know, it's all over Instagram, and everybody loves it, but in your path to being a world champion, it's totally irrelevant.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I just think, like, I remember previously as well, especially in like some events, I remember like the first round I'd go out and I'd post like a really high heat total, but like and I tried as hard as I could, like it was the final, and it was just like, you don't need to do that. You just need to sail how you can. Better to wait and try, like, and put everything in, you know, like put everything in that you can do later on too, you know, like kind of pacing yourself through the event, which is actually, again, a big part of it.
So then that's a recipe for like a single event, and then to like put together a year, like get top 3 on the whole tour or win a world title. Is it a lot about the spots and the boards for the spots, or the way you sail certain spots that is different? Like, we, you know, viewers don't necessarily see it because a lot of people say it's onshore port tack, for example, but like Pozo and Tenerife are different.
Yeah, like radically different. Like, I would say, actually, like really different. Yeah, is it different? Yeah, I mean, I feel like Tenerife, the last few years, both Victor and I had those stubbies, and I think like they work particularly well in especially in Tenerife, like in that sort of condition. Those sort of conditions, they work really well. You're planing, they carry speed, but they drive really well. Like they actually like surf the wave really well, because Cabeza actually is a good wave. Like, if it's not windy, it's a really good wave. So yeah, and then I feel like I think for those guys, quite often it's also a case of like taking each. It sounds, again, cliche and kind of obvious, but if you're thinking about the world title, you might lose in the first round. You need to think about the heat that you're in at the time, and you just have to. I know, like, the years that I've, like, that year I came 5th, like, and I was really close to being 4th. Like, I didn't know that that's where I was going to be. Do you know what I mean? I was just thinking about passing the heats I was in, and I feel like that definitely has a big. You need to just concentrate on what you're doing there and then. You have to. It's cliche. I suppose you need to be in that moment, or whatever you want to call it. But
yeah, how aware are you, like, of judging criteria and things that are, because this is another little detail that, not necessarily everybody pays attention to, but I see these judging criteria kind of evolving.
Yeah.
Whereas like, I don't know, like a couple, like 2015 or 16, like they scored backside 360s really high. And then the next year they wouldn't score them at all. It was like a half a point added to the wave,
Yeah.
Then
it was
like
a little whitewash tacker or something.
Yeah. And then like same thing happened with table forwards, where at one point, like Toma Traversa was getting like 8s.
Yeah.
Or 8.5s for table forwards. And then the next year, everybody did table forwards, and they just wouldn't score them. And the same thing with the landings, which I don't necessarily agree sometimes with, like, if somebody does a massive push forward and lands with his ass in the water, or like Brasinho did.
With this, I completely agree. And I always actually end up having discussions with people like about this, because I feel like it's counter. I think you should be rewarding risk and rewarding, like, if something's massive and like in control, let's say, but the landing's a bit wet, you also have to understand, if you do a huge stalled double, it's impossible that you land with your ankles dry and keep like the gear intact. So you're going to have to land a bit wet. Like, if the rotation and stuff is controlled, I feel like people should be getting rewarded for that. And quite often, let's say they don't, because I've seen massive stalled doubles that don't get the score I would have given them, let's say.
Yeah.
I think it's counter progressive.
Yeah. But your thing has been like, do a double, do a one-footed back loop, and then focus on the waves. What if the judging criteria turns on you? Like, I don't know, all of a sudden the one-footed back loop will be obsolete or whatever. Like, how aware are you of those things going into an event and whatever that you...
I would say I'm aware. I would say I'm aware about it. Like, I would say I learned to do one-footed back loops because they were scoring. I didn't like particularly need to. I actually thought like a big one-handed one I quite like, but they seem not to score as well, and it's harder to go as high. And the one-footed ones are a little bit easier to get the height. And so I learned to do those because of the judging, because they were getting judged so well, frankly. So I feel like I'm aware. And I mean, I think I'm lucky that, like you mentioned right now, like front side riding is rewarded quite well in terms of the judging. And I think that's something that maybe that I have a point of difference against some guys. So I've been kind of lucky that that's been getting rewarded, because that suits how I've always sailed. But maybe if it was like different, I would learn how to sail a different way, because it's, again, I personally feel it's a little bit of an ego thing, and you just have to accept, like if something's going to get judged, even if you don't want to do it, you should probably learn how to do it.
It's funny. Like, it's really funny how I think PWA, sometimes they don't even think of that they kind of almost shape the next generation, where...
I mean, I've had discussions with Duncan Coombs about that, and I was saying, like exactly like you said, I said, look, you guys, what you judge and what you score affects how the sport progresses.
Because like the Philip Koster generation, they all came up, like, I don't know, let's say Mark Paré and all the guys in Pozo and stuff. They came up doing like triple takas, sliding, and backside threes and all these things. And all of a sudden, all these like Alessio and stuff, all these things are obsolete, where they need to learn to do a proper hack, where maybe like for me, for example, maybe because I'm heavy or whatever, I can do a turn. I can always do a turn, but like I cannot even imagine doing a goiter in onshore, or whatever, because it's like such a hard move. So it's like, it's not necessarily this is easier and that's harder. It's like kind of picking a direction, and I wonder where it comes from. Does it come from you guys kind of moaning that this is getting scored too high or whatever, and it's easy, or I kind of wonder about that when I watch the events.
I mean, we have like the PWA is at the end of the day a sailors organization, and like we do have meetings normally every year with the head judge, with Duncan, and like it's up to I feel like we can voice our opinions on the judge's direction through those sort of meetings about stuff. I know like one year there was a lot of guys whinging about like the rotations on doubles, like if a rotation was more end over, it shouldn't be getting scored, because there was a point that
Toma Traversa double
sketchy endo ones were getting scored quite high, and I think like a lot of the guys didn't really, they wanted to see that like more controlled sideways rotation. So the guys have a bit of like, as the sailors body, we have kind of at least some communication with the judges.
Yeah. So what's the if you're like involved in these committees and stuff, what's the word like? What's the rumblings? Because there was supposed to be maybe like some smaller events together with IWT and maybe some, are you hearing any rumblings like state of the tour, or is it just going to be same old port tack jumping?
I haven't heard much, to be honest, and I feel like normally I'm on that wave sailing committee, but I haven't heard much. So I don't really know. I think it would be awesome if we could collaborate, for some smaller events, that we were like bringing in that new kind of like a point system into like the
star system that we have. We have it in slalom.
Yeah. So that like was in place for last year, and it looked pretty cool because some of the IWT events were going to count, and it was looking pretty good. We'll just have to see. I mean, so much is in the air right now. I think it's pretty hard to like confirm.
I didn't know it was actually in. So what happened? Did it fall? I mean, obviously, I know what happened, but like for 2021, did it fall apart? Because I know that the communication between the two tours is kind of tricky, but
I'm not sure. I was pretty sure it was in for last year. I remember we had a meeting about it.
Okay, cool. That would be freaking cool. Like, okay, the event in Chile or whatever would get scored less than the event in Pozo, but it's still there and it's still a great showcase. And
exactly, it was. I mean, the way it was like pointed and worked and stuff was pretty cool. I feel like it was like if you won one of those events, it's like you could count it instead of if you did a PWA. Or
it would be like coming 9 for something or 7.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So it was pretty cool. It was just set up pretty well, I have to say.
That sounds pretty dope. Not to offend you in any way or to make fun of you, as I always do, that you're an old fuck. You're 32 now.
Yeah.
How long you reckon you can do it? Not you personally, but like sports generally gone to, having older and older athletes.
Yeah.
Wave sailing is pretty particular. You need to be pretty agile and stuff. But how long you reckon it's possible to be on tour and stay competitive?
I think that's an interesting point. I feel like right now, like the last years, I felt like probably in the best shape I've ever been. So I feel like I've probably got a bit of time. I'd probably keep competing as long as I enjoy doing it, and I don't have a problem like with stopping when I don't feel like I'm enjoying it a lot. But I feel like a lot of the guys kind of I feel like between 35 and 37 is a pretty good age to kind of retire, if you want to say. But I mean, there's guys still going, isn't there? I mean, I've got a couple of years left, I feel like.
Yeah. And then you stay in the industry, or you become a plumber like you always wanted?
Yeah, it's a hard one. It's I feel like over the years I've learned a lot about windsurfing. I really enjoy the R&D side, so I would probably like to be in. I would like to stay in the industry. I think I feel like it would be a waste of like nearly 15 years of like you're learning about.
Fuck, I feel exactly the same. Exactly
about sales. You know what I mean? Like I've spent half my life to know that this does this on a sail or this does this, and so yeah, I would like to stay. I won't. I'd probably like keep the door open for other opportunities if they come. But I don't know what my passion has always been in windsurfing, and I think like that says a lot. I would like to carry on.
Yeah. I feel really a similar way, and it's and it would be fun. No, it would be fun to
absolutely
stick around and sail. Like you see a lot of the guys, I don't know, like Skyboy just comes to mind, or just sailing for fun. Wonder if should be fun though still, right? Sailing, if you're not competing, you've been so focused on improving and compete and doing it for a reason and whatever. But I think testing is always like a really nice push to, you have like an extra reason to. I always enjoy the testing and that stuff. I think that helps a lot. Yeah.
And it's kind of addictive. Like I feel like as all athletes, we're somewhat addicted to improving. And I feel like developing stuff is an extension of that, because you're always pushing for improvement in the gear too, There's something addictive.
That's a really good point. So if you're 20, if anyone out there dislikes his 2021 duotone more than his 2020, it's Adam's fault.
It's probably probably is at the moment.
Yeah. Look, you confessed that you listened to the podcast, so you know what's coming at the end.
Yeah. But I actually didn't think about. I kind of wanted to keep it authentic. I've tried not to prepare my answers for this part.
When Prophet interviewed me, it was really bad because I didn't prepare, and it's my freaking questions. And I was like,
Yeah, I do. As you said, I listen to the podcasts. I've been enjoying it. I said I built my house listening to them. So
yeah,
I think you do a good job.
So I can claim the floor. So
yeah,
help building the house. Yeah.
Yeah, emotional support.
Yeah. What are your pet peeves?
Do you know what? Like my real pet peeve is, and it's like a house thing, is I don't like dishes in the sink anymore. I don't know why.
This is what I remember from Australia as well. You washing the dishes in this old stinking water, like you would just flood everything with water and then wash everything in that same water, like a greasy pan, like super, like I don't know, like super greasy.
I used to get told off for wasting water
and whatever. And I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, that's how you do the washing up, mate. Like, what are you talking about? That, yeah, I remember that one. And I remember my cooking was terrible at the time. Not that it's better now, but
I don't know, Balz. Anyone's cooking was ideal.
Yeah. 3 apps you can't live without.
Right now, it's definitely like forecasting. Like I use Magic Seaweed a lot. I use my email all the time, and I'm awful at just scrolling on Instagram. I'm trying to get better.
Gramming.
I'm gramming.
I said it.
I've been trying to get better. I've been trying to get better at like posting, because previously I've not been good at that. But the problem is you go on there to post and then you just start scrolling mindlessly. Is the problem I have now.
Yeah.
I was better when I just avoided it.
Yeah. How many times a day do you pee your wetsuit or your board shorts right now in Maui?
I feel like anyone that says they don't is lying. Because
definitely.
I do a lot.
It's scientifically proven. It's not.
Yeah, I go like, I mean, I have to say I quite regularly my wetsuits out, but I pee in them for sure. Yeah. Like I normally pee, like a little, for example, a preheat ritual for me is to pee, like just as as my ankles get wet, I normally pee. A little nervous pee.
Yeah, at least you're not doing it on the beach, so it's okay.
I don't even remember, that used to be Cookie's favorite trick, wasn't it? He'd stand up window view in his board shorts and pee.
Yeah. Yeah, and you'd wonder what it was. Your guilty pleasure. Bonnie Tyler.
Yeah, probably. I've gone to Adele now, actually. I've been listening to a lot of Adele. But I don't know, ice cream or beer, probably.
Yeah, or both at the same time.
Yeah.
If you could have one superpower.
I don't know about that one. Oh, actually, I do know. To breathe underwater. Easy.
Pretty sick for big waves. Yeah, you'd quickly become like the new Kai Lenny.
Yeah.
Your top 5 windsurfers of all time. And don't tell me you didn't prepare this one, because you must have prepared this one.
I feel like, in fairness, you ask when people ask, and then you start thinking, you're like, actually, what would mine be? But I would say, so growing up, my first, I remember I first went to a windsurf shop, and in the windsurf shop was like Maui projects, just stacked. It was like a rack of Maui projects. And I remember like I was picking up like a 50 quid horrible old sail from their like second. It was my first sail pretty much. And I just remember looking at all the Maui projects, and then somehow they gave me a DVD, which was the Resonance DVD, which was like the Levi Cyber DVD. And I remember watching that like religiously every day. So I'd say I watched like the Levi Cyber a lot. So, and Polacow as well, I have to say. So probably number 1, I'd go Polacow, Levi Cyber. That's 2. For like more recently, I think Brow's got to be up there. I feel like he's pretty untouchable at the moment. And then I've got, what have I got? I've got 2 left.
Yeah. You're welcome to put yourself if you want.
No, it's definitely not me. Yeah, I don't know. Who else? I feel like everyone always says Bjorn, but I feel like that was kind of before my time a little bit, in a kind of way. But who else? I feel like when I was growing up, there was like Ricardo too. He was just kind of dominating. He's pretty amazing. And then I don't know who else. Maybe I'll have to go Bjorn just for winning everything when he did.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you remember, speaking of Levi, you remember when we were like looking at clips of Levi with Patrick, and you were trying to explain like what the board actually does?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
Because we were trying to be like scientific about it, and then
just Levi destroying lips in Maui. Yeah.
Yeah. And then basically the conclusion we came to is just like, no matter the board, he's just fucking amazing. Yeah. I mean, that was Patrick's conclusion, but I agree with it. Kind of. Most underrated windsurfer of all time.
So I actually feel like I'm going to pick someone from home, and that's a guy called Andy King. And I feel like he was like, he's awesome at everything, more or less. And I feel like he could have got much better results than he did.
Yeah. There's a
I mean, actually, in fairness, I feel like for the UK guys, you got Horrocks too. And Horrocks, like, Phil Horrocks is like super, like never really got the World Cup results I feel like he should have done. But I mean, like, I think like the first year I beat him was the year that I was like third. I'd just had a podium in Tenerife. I basically had to get a podium in Tenerife to be able to beat Phil because he was smoking me at everything.
Yeah.
UK.
Yeah, definitely a lot of talent in the UK, that for a lot of reasons. I just feel like in the UK, I didn't actually ask you about that, but that's a good point, that in the UK, it's almost like it's a shame. You should be ashamed to promote yourself. You know what I mean? Like it's like the cardinal sin to like, to media. You even use media whoring and kind of like just promoting yourself is looked at very badly.
It's kind of like, definitely I feel like there's a lot of guys at home that are very, very good that just kind of windsurf. They just do it.
Yeah, it's one of those culture things, I guess, like where in my place would be the polar opposite, I guess. Yeah. Foil freestyle, yes or no?
Yeah, fully into it.
Obstacles in slalom.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. It'd be cool to do the Supercross thing again. I would love that.
Yeah. One spot you'd have to sail every day for the rest of your life.
Well, I was toying between this one actually the other day because I thought obviously now it's Hukipa, but I do feel like I would sail Nalu every day for the rest of my life for that.
With the flies and with the heat and sharks and
do I have to have that too?
Do you what?
Do I have to have all the flies? I can't just have Nalu.
Well, you can have the sharks instead. You can go surfing in the morning when the flies are around.
Yeah, maybe I'll just stick with Hukipa for now.
Yeah, I think Hukipa is just so friendly. Like you're there, like, it's just a beach park and you rig on the grass and so nice. So nice. So want to go back. Do you have a worst check-in story? Like a really bad one?
Probably my first big trip was like I was traveling to Cape Town and I didn't even I just booked the cheapest ticket. I hadn't even thought about looking at baggage policies.
Rookie.
I had like a rookie. It's like the mistake you only make once, more or less. And I remember getting to the check-in desk. I had a quiver bag and like a double board bag. And the woman was like, "Oh, that's going to be excess baggage." And I was like, "Yeah, that's fine." She didn't say anything. She tagged everything up. And then she was just about to direct me to where the oversized baggage they take away. And then her supervisor came down and just tapped her on the shoulder. And she was like, "Have you charged for that?" And the woman was like, "Oh no." Okay. She goes, "Okay, wait, I'll reweigh it." So weighed it all again. And then she started getting the calculator out. And normally when the calculator comes out, you're like, "Oh, I'm fucked." Yeah. Out comes the calculator and she's like, and she went, "Oh." The actual check-in lady was like, "Oh." And then she was like, "That's going to be," I was 18 and it was a while ago now, but she was like, "It's going to be 1,250 pounds. And I was just like, "What?" I was just like, I can't pay that. So she goes, "Okay, wait, let me see if I can do something else." So then she goes back on her to calculator and she goes, "I could do £1,000. And I was like, "I just can't pay that. That's I
don't have that.
I think yeah, exactly. I had I maybe had £1,000 and that needed to last me 2 months in South Africa. And so I remember she was like, "Okay, go downstairs and ask the freight guys if they can freight it to you." So I went downstairs with all the bags. And they were like, "Oh yeah, okay." They weighed it all and they were talking about freighting it. And they were like, "Okay, that's going to be £800. And I was just like, I can't pay this. I don't have this money. So I went back upstairs and I was like, to be honest, by this point, I was basically close to tears, I would say. And I remember going up to the lady and I was like, "They wanted £800. I just want to go to South Africa. All my friends are training there. I just want to be a professional windsurfer. And she goes, she was like, I can't do anything. I can't do anything. And then it was like getting quite late in terms of like, I've been up and down and faffing around, and I was just like, I didn't know what to do. And then she goes, just give me a minute. And then she called like her supervisor that's above the supervisor. I don't know. And like, I was like crying, I'd say at this point, or pretty close to tears. And she just went like tapping away on the calculator, and she goes, okay, £250. And then I just paid the £250 and got on the plane. But that was by far the worst. And since then I've been kind of lucky.
But you know what happens? Like nowadays, maybe you would pay the £1,000, but back then you couldn't. So you just kept at it, and somehow finally they just let you do something, figure something out, you know. So yeah, I feel like sometimes not having a pot to piss in is actually helpful.
Yeah, and that one, it definitely wasn't that one, because I just couldn't pay it.
Yeah.
I think we offered to buy another ticket. I remember offering to buy another plane ticket, because I think the plane ticket was like 600 quid.
Yeah, definitely. You want to hear what it says here, or you want to hear the next question? Because here it says, what's the furthest you ever traveled specifically to see a girl? It's a question that I wrote down. I thought it would be funny, but then I never really ask it to anybody because I'm too shy. But since I know you for a while, and I know this might be a pretty big story, so yeah.
I don't know. I've been a few places.
Yeah.
I flew to Bali once to see a girl. I don't know if that counts.
Definitely. Tenerife to Germany.
Yeah.
For one day. I know you've done that. So,
yeah.
Your worst competitor.
Do you know who beat me twice last year, and it really pissed me off? Is Antoine Martin. I don't know why. I was really annoyed. He pulled like the best heat he's ever had out of his ass in Tenerife, and I was so mad.
Yeah, bit of a wild card, isn't he? Like,
yeah.
What are you binge watching? What is your recommendation? Current.
Been watching like a bunch, and it's pure trash. Is Schitt's Creek. I don't know if you've watched that.
No.
It's like pure trash. It's on Netflix.
Is it some British thing?
No. It's American. It's like sitcom thing. It's total garbage, but
yeah. You get $1 million in cash. You need to spend it in 24 hours. What do you buy?
I'd buy the field that my house is in. I think I probably wouldn't have very much left to spend after that.
Did you just put it there?
Well, it's my friend's. It's my friend's field, but
okay. You might even run a little short, knowing Maui prices.
Yeah. No, maybe I'd just try and buy some. I feel like we're obviously all old, and I feel like that's what everyone says, but I'd invest in real estate.
Well, the thing is, you have 24 hours to spend it. So I'm not sure if you can figure that out in 24 hours. That was the point of the question, to have like, answers like I'd buy a Lambo or whatever, but everybody's like, yeah, I'm going to buy a house. I'm like, maybe change it. I'll change it to like 8 hours or an hour, you got to spend it in an hour. You got to make up your mind. Click on Amazon, Yeah. And then and then somebody
buy a big truck. Jet ski.
Yeah. And then somebody sent me like a Robbie Nash's put up his house for sale, which I think is like,
is it like 17 million?
Yeah.
Something like that.
I think it's on the like right on the cliff somewhere around Tahi actually. And then you think like, I guess I was born in the wrong era a little bit. But
Yes.
whatever. Could be worse.
I mean, he was at school the other day, charging jaws, I have to say. Not bad for an old fella.
For sure. It's like 55 or something.
I think he might be 57. He might be even older. So
yeah. Still, Kelly being 47 that's the one that gets me, like, or even 48. Last but not least, who would you want to hear on the podcast? Give me a name. Give me a good name. Give me somebody that I wouldn't expect and could be like really good banter.
I'm not too sure. I'm just trying to think now. Who would be pretty good? Have you had Duncan Coombs on yet?
No. Would he do it though?
Huh?
Would he do it though?
I don't know. But he's got some funny stories. He's kind of seen it all. He'd do pretty good, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely good in the bar, in terms of storytelling and stuff. But I remember
you might have to send him a crate of beer.
Yeah.
And then he might get him talking.
Yeah. That's not a bad idea, actually. Profit's the producer of this thing, so he might set it up somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, I reckon he'd do it for a couple of beers, and you'd want him a couple of beers in, I think.
Definitely. That's a good idea. Head judge coming right up. We might air his before yours then. No, I can't do that. Yeah.
Who have you got next? You've got Brandner. I think that would be good too.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm doing Martin Brandner. And let's see how much he's gonna. Now he's retired, so hopefully he'll be
might be able to get some dirt.
Yeah, to spill like the figures and all the stories. He's seen pretty much everything. So that team that he had at JP, with Antoine, Polacao, Ricardo, Kauli.
There was that like young gun era too that I feel like they were just.
That's what I grew up watching.
Was a mental team.
The 2003 JP catalog was my bed.
Julian Tabbouleh was in there too, and
yeah, that was dope. That was really sick. Looking forward to that. But your chat, I think, was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, good. It was good.
I'm glad you didn't go into your posh mode. You wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't let you, I think.
No.
Okay, enjoy life in Maui, man. As much as it's at the end of the world, we're all pretty jealous deep down. So so enjoy.
Nice one, mate. Thanks for your time.
There we go. I hope you liked that one. Give us a thumbs up like if you liked it. In the comments below, any questions. And as always, let us know who you want to see on the podcast. Don't forget to subscribe because we're releasing one every Wednesday. So if you hit the little bell thing, then you will get notified when one comes up. And if you like them that much, you can chip in some beer money and you will get entered into the prize draw to win sails and caps and all that sort of stuff. Thanks a lot for watching. And we'll see you next time.